CM Punk has dropped another pipe bomb that is everybody talking, so we'll get into everything he touched on. We'll also see what's new for Roxanne Perez, The Rock, and more. Starting things off with a new story that was officially introduced on this week's edition of Raw. The conversation we spent some time talking about earlier in the week was in regards to Roxanne and how exactly she feels about the current events with the Judgment Day. The man that first brought her into the group was kicked out of the group while she was away, and without anyone from the group including her into the decision. Is Roxanne upset about that situation? Is she quietly holding on to how she feels about that whole thing for the time being? Will Roxanne strike on the rest of the group when the timing is right? Well, that's all the different things that we were all wondering about. Well, a continuation to this conversation is happening over on Instagram. Finn Balor has been making several new posts over there, and obviously none of the Judgment Day members are liking Finn's post anymore because of their recent split. But there is only one member of the Judgment Day that's still dropping likes on Finn's posts, and that's Roxanne Perez. So by Roxanne being the only member of the group to still be showing love and support to Finn's new posts, it feeds this narrative that Roxanne is still cool with Finn, and how she didn't enjoy what they did to him while she was gone. So will Roxanne really hold a grudge against Liv and the rest of the group for how they handled Finn? And could that lead to Roxanne's own split and removal from the group? However, there's still lots of time and possibilities for this theory to be busted as well. Finn and Dominic will be going one-on-one with each other at WrestleMania 42, and that's a match that very well could see some outside interference from the other Judgment Day members. So if Roxanne is out there at WrestleMania and gets physical herself with Finn, or tries to screw him out of the match in any way, that'll put this theory to rest that Roxanne is upset with the group for how they handled Finn. But if they don't show anything like that, this could continue to grow the narrative that Roxanne is not happy that nobody came to her with the heads up about what they were doing to Finn. And the April 6th edition of Raw actually confirmed that this will be a narrative and storyline direction that they will get into. During a backstage segment on Raw, Roxanne Perez walks into the lair to greet the Judgment Day. Liv Morgan pulls Roxanne aside to address the elephant in the room there. Liv Morgan acknowledges that Roxanne may be feeling conflicted about what the group did to Finn, since he was the one who brought Roxanne into the group. But Liv Morgan tried to explain why it was done and why it absolutely had to be done. Roxanne is just about to express her feelings about the situation about Finn, but that's when Stephanie brutally attacks Liv Morgan and pushes her into Roxanne Perez, instantly cutting off the conversation on the spot. So a nicely done segment right there. The Roxanne and Liv conflict was lightly teased and introduced, and we didn't get to hear Roxanne's true feelings about the matter, so that keeps her feelings about Finn as a mystery for the foreseeable future. Does Roxanne understand why that had to be done to Finn? Or does Roxanne stand against what they did to Finn? They purposely left it as a cliffhanger to keep us guessing and wondering for a bit longer. Like we mentioned before, we only got little things to go by at the moment, such as the gesture of Roxanne Perez still leaving likes on Finn's social media posts, which does hint at the idea that Roxanne has no beef with Finn and doesn't agree with what the group did to him. Remember that the attack and removal of Finn took place without Roxanne being there. Every member of the Judgment Day laid hands on Finn that night, except Roxanne because she was still recovering at home. So the April 6th edition of Raw lightly confirmed the fan theory that Roxanne may be feeling conflicted about how the group handled everything with Finn. And the fact that Stephanie cut off Roxanne's response about how she feels about Finn, that leaves this whole angle as being really ambiguous. And heading into the Women's World title match at WrestleMania 42, maybe Liv has to look side-eyed at Roxanne Perez. In recent months, everyone has been speaking about the idea of Raquel betraying Liv Morgan, but what if the swerve is that it'll actually be Roxanne Perez? Roxanne has a little bit of motive now to get back at Liv Morgan and the rest of the Judgment Day for how they handled that situation with her mentor Finn. That segment from April 6th slightly leaves the door open for them to create more tension between Liv and Roxanne, which could be very exciting and adds another layer to everything that's already going on with the Judgment Day. So until we get to hear Roxanne express herself for how she feels about what happened to Finn, definitely have to keep an eye on her and watch out for her. She helped Liv with Stephanie the night of her return on Raw, but it does seem like Roxanne does not like what they did to Finn. So definitely a little situation there that's worth monitoring because it can definitely turn into a much bigger situation down the line. CM Punk delivered another all-time classic promo on April 6th that was very memorable and contained so much to get into. The first target of Punk's promo was obviously Roman Reigns. Punk slammed Roman Reigns for never being around. Punk pointed out how he himself films TV shows and movies, but always makes time to show up to Raw, and he questioned why Roman can't do the same thing. Punk poked fun at Roman for coming back to Raw, and always poking his chest out, like if he was a big Hollywood star, as if he was someone like The Rock. And that's when The Rock caught a stray from CM Punk. Punk said at least The Rock is a Hollywood star, but then corrected himself and said that The Rock was a Hollywood star, past tense. So a clear jab at The Rock, and of course that opens up the discussion again about a return for The Rock. Some people are tired in regards to talking about The Rock's return, and that's completely understandable. It is exhausting talking about The Rock's return and theorizing about it because there's so many good scenarios for him to return into, and almost none of them ever happen. It's like if you're putting your teeth under the pillow for the Tooth Fairy, setting up the perfect scenario for the Tooth Fairy to make an appearance for you. But night after night, the Tooth Fairy never shows up, even with all the teeth under the pillow. It'll probably get to the point where eventually you give up and don't want to hear about the Tooth Fairy anymore. That's the perfect analogy for how certain fans feel right now with The Rock. A lot of fans have lost hope and care in his usage due to the lack of any real consistency being there. A lot of fans are still sour towards him due to the disaster we saw in 2025, of him abandoning the whole story with John Cena's heel turn and never following up that March 2025 moment in any way after that night. A lot of fans have not let that go, and it's understandable. How can we look forward to his next appearance if it'll probably be a one-night story that never gets touched on again after that night? That's frustrating as a viewer to deal with. But Punk's jab and mention of The Rock will of course open up the door to the idea of The Rock returning to address him and confront him. Could The Rock return during the Night 2 main event of WrestleMania between Punk and Roman? Well, it is the Night 2 main event of WrestleMania. There is no bigger platform in the entire year, so if he's going to make an appearance, you kind of figure that is the time and place for it. But it still seems unlikely. Punk's remark was probably just a jab and not meant to fully tease the return of The Rock. Punk also made reference to Vince McMahon by calling him a weird old man. Punk said that he had the power and the type of money already saved up to just say no to Vince's demands and walk away. While Roman had to say yes to everything that the weird old man wanted, such as that dog food segment from 2019, Punk also took aim at Pat for the whole big reveal of him being revealed as the mystery caller. It seems like the company is aware that people are not happy with that reveal, so they had Cody Rhodes and now CM Punk rip Pat apart for that. Punk ended his promo by directly calling out TKO, saying that they should lower the ticket prices to allow more families to come to WrestleMania 42. Sky-high TKO ticket prices has been a popular topic amongst fans for a long time, and this was the first time that a superstar addressed that topic on WWE television themselves. So there's something very special by CM Punk. The night started off with the crowd being split down the middle between Roman and Punk, but by the end of that promo, Punk had completely won the crowd over, because he touched on a lot of real topics that shattered that fourth wall in the proper way. CM Punk and Roman Reigns will have one final face-to-face segment with each other before WrestleMania 42, and that's taking place on April 13th. That will be the final piece of build-up for this Night 2 main event. With Punk's latest jab towards him, the question of, will The Rock show up during the main event of WrestleMania, is back in play. This has been a question that has honestly been getting asked every WrestleMania since probably 2021. And it only happened one time, and that was with WrestleMania 40 in 2024. So when you look at those odds, he only showed up once out of 5 scenarios. Not exactly the best odds for him showing up, but it will be something fans are wondering about because of Punk's jab of saying that The Rock was no longer a big Hollywood star. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.